That was a really good question, and it's interesting that throughout my career, I mean, when I started out, I was very much, the ICA was a relatively small place, and you could be both the director and a curator, and I was very much a curator. So shows that I did at the ICA that I still feel amazingly proud of and affectionate for were, like the first major survey of Agnes Martin's work in 1973, the first major survey of Cy Twombly's work when no one was paying attention to him in 1975. Worked with a lot of artists to help them do big projects, like help Bob Morris in 1974 build a 30-foot wide labyrinth that was 8 foot high that you could walk in, that was just now in the Panza collection, that now belongs to the Guggenheim. So those were things, and did the first video art exhibition that later traveled to Sao Paulo for the Sao Paulo Biennale. And when I was at the Neuberger Museum, I could still curate a little bit, and one of the shows that I did there was a show called Soundings. And it looked at the history, the interconnection of visual arts to sound and music from 1900 to then, 1981. And that was a big building, so it was like a 25,000 square foot show. It included, films, so there was the interrelationship between sound and image and film. It included artist records. It included installations you could walk through, paintings like clay that suggested sound but didn't make sound, and sculptures that you could sound. So it was a pretty amazing exhibition. And I also did a show called The Window in 20th Century Art that I was particularly proud of, that traveled around the United States. And when I was in Houston, we did projects with Robert Wilson, with the grand eccentric James Lee Byers. I don't know if you know his work, but which included doing a floor made of gold leaf that was, about, I don't know. All I said to the board of the Center of the Contemporary Arts Museum was, this month we're taking care of unemployment in Houston, don't worry about it. We laid down a lot of gold leaf on the floor of this 10,000 square foot space. And then when I came to Miami, I knew that my role here was going to be different. That obviously that I would be involved curatorially in helping to think through the programming and how we're going to focus the programming, but that I wouldn't be so much the frontline curator thinking about where everything's going to go and doing the floor plans and all of that, which I have a real love of doing. But was really lucky to have to work with very, very good curators, especially Peter Boswell and Lori Mertez and Cheryl Hartop. And among the shows we did that I feel really proud of, we did a very early exhibition of the work of Carlos Alfonso, and that was something that was really important for this community. And then it traveled to the Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden in Washington. So its attendance was just unbelievable because of that. And that was 1996 that we did that and published a really beautiful book for it. I was grateful that our board got behind me in doing an exhibition called The Sacred Arts of Haitian Vodou. It wasn't organized by me, but it was organized by the Fowler Center at the University of California in Los Angeles. And one of the key scholars on it was a man named Henry Druhl, who's an expert in the art of Africa and the African diaspora. And the exhibition covered 400 years of history of Haitian art. Many people thought, well, why are you showing that in an art museum? This is really an ethnographic exhibition. But we did, and we had to really work closely with the Haitian community in Miami to make sure that people were comfortable with it, because people have very mixed feelings towards Vodou. And many people on the museum staff had were of Haitian descent and had very strong feelings about that. So we worked really closely with the community, and one of the nicest things that happened is we told most of the people on our security team were of Haitian descent. And we told them if they didn't want to be in the galleries guarding that show, that we would give them a different assignment during the run of the exhibition. That was their call, and it was fine. And what was really nice is a number of people who did not want to be part of the guarding team during the run of the show said, hey, I do want to be part of it. This is something beautiful, and I'm really proud of it. So that was a show that I think was, for me, a really amazing show that we did and made sense for the museum and for Miami. I loved our Ann Hamilton show. We did a room, she did a special project for us that included a table that was about 100 feet long, and it was covered with flowers. And then it had little tiny sensors inside of it that picked up the sound of the flowers decomposing. So that it was just breathtakingly beautiful, and I think it called attention, one, to Miami's role really as a major center for the importing and exporting of flowers. And we worked with a man who was really, I'm going to call him a bug specialist. That's not the correct name for it. But he, from the county, to really work on making sure that we didn't, we handled the insects that came around in a careful way. So that was a show that was pretty hard to forget. And then we started a series called the New Work Series. And the New Work Series allowed us to really invite artists to come and do projects in one space at the museum and to support them in creating a new work, and that we would have the right to acquire the work. We'd have the right of first refusal to acquire the work. And this allowed us not only to show artists from around the world, but also to really showcase artists who were based here in Miami. And from the get-go, we had a really strong commitment of wanting to make sure that artists who are living and working in Miami were incorporated in the museum's programming, and not to treat them as local artists, but to treat them as artists who are based here, living and working in Miami.